guys. It's Hunter Gonzales here tonight, along with my co-host Griffin Markwith, and just kind of give y'all some information about what this is. This is just two guys who live a normal life, who just so happen to like basketball just quite a bit, and we just wanted to kind of entertain y'all, entertain ourselves, because we live a normal life, which means we are kind of boring. But we just wanted to entertain y'all and entertain ourselves. And Griffin, I'll let you have the floor just so that you can give these people some more information as to what this is and what they can expect in just this podcast.
All right, that sounds good. I'm Griffin Markwith. Like my friend Hunter said, we're both just normal dudes. We happen to love the NBA, and we thought that recording a podcast might be a good way to channel that into something productive and just give us an outlet for our thoughts, because we both have a lot of thoughts on the league and its various happenings. And so, we just wanted a forum and a medium to discuss said happenings. So just to give you kind of a rundown of what we plan to do here is we'll probably for the first few minutes of the show, we'll discuss, what's going around the league today or during the past couple days, and then we'll move on to some interesting matchups. Currently, the playoffs are obviously going on, so we'll be able to discuss those series in depth. And then we're both going to talk a little bit about our respective favorite teams, mine being the Utah Jazz and Hunter's being the Boston Celtics. So that's what we plan on doing. Hunter, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, guys, so just like you said, that's what you can expect. These things are going to go 30, 45 minutes, absolute tops, but let's just hop right into it. So, today it was announced that Karl Anthony-Towns, the big cat, he was a unanimous Rookie of the Year winner, and of course you had Porzingis finishing 2 and Jokic finishing 3. But man, I mean, really, Griffin, is that even a surprise? And I mean, maybe the unanimous kind of surprised me when I saw it, but I don't really think the fact that he won isn't shocking at all. But maybe the unanimous is. What do you think?
Right. Honestly, I wasn't shocked. I think the fact that we had a unanimous Rookie of the Year and a unanimous MVP in the same year is kind of wild. It's kind of daunting, but I don't think that it didn't shock me because he's unbelievable. He's already possibly a top 15 player in the league as a rookie. It's
Mm-hmm.
really just incredible. And the guy, Porzingis and Jokic both had very good years, and I think they both show a lot of promise. But neither one of them really came close to Cat's production, especially on the defensive end. Like the guy was unbelievable. So it didn't really surprise me that much. And congratulations to him. I like him a lot, and I'm interested to see how that Wolves team is going to do in the future.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of piggyback upon that. I mean, them getting Tibbs like they just did, I
Right.
think that dude, man, he is a great coach. Just
Absolutely.
though he runs his guys into the ground, he is a great coach. And I think coming from that Doc Rivers kind of tree with being the defensive guy back when they were winning championships in Boston and being among
Mm-hmm.
the best teams, I think now that he has such a young team and the fact that I can't. I think the oldest guy in their starting lineup that consistently plays would be Rubio, and I mean he's still extremely young. And so you look up, and now that Tibbs has full control of basically everything in that organization, and he's everything but the owner for all intents and purposes.
Right.
I think that they're setting themselves up really well, and it's funny because just a few years back, I mean they had no pieces because Rubio was looking like a bust. They had Flynn who was out of the league, and
Right.
so it was just. I mean, it's pretty cool to see how they're just building from the ground up, and they're building a team that is just absolutely dominant.
Yeah, it really is fascinating. Like you said, they're super young. I just searched it here. Rubio's only 25. It's funny they draw. I won't go into it. I don't want to already start talking about the Jazz, but they do draw a lot of parallels to Utah. I think they both have great young cores, and the fact that they just got Tibbs is going to be huge. And I want to your point about Tibbs running his guys into the ground, I was listening to Zach Lowe's podcast with Jerry Dudley, and Dudley was saying that he heard around the league that Tibbs kind of lets up towards the middle of the year. So maybe I think that it won't be that bad for the young guys. You know,
Yeah.
they'll kind of get, like you said, run to the ground a little bit at the beginning, but I think Tibbs will let up, and I really think that that's what they need over there because they've had to deal with morons like Sam Mitchell. So they kind of need a really defensive minded in, intelligent guy running that team, and really, like you said, the whole organization. So I don't know, man. Their future is bright. I kind of wanted to get your take on Wiggins and Levine because they're both obviously very exciting and dynamic players. But
Hmm.
I'm just not sold on them. I love Towns. I love Rubio. But Wiggins and Levine, they're just such liabilities defensively, and they both. Well, Wiggins, I mean, honestly, both of them, they both have the tools to be excellent defensively, but they
Yeah.
just don't really seem to know what they're doing, and they're both extremely inefficient offensively. So I don't know. What do you think about those two guys?
I think, yeah, it's a good question. It's something that people really don't bring up in the mainstream media simply because Levine winning the
Right.
dunk contest, he's fun to watch. So of course they're
Absolutely.
going to piggyback on that. But they had all the talent in the world, but you look and they had Sam Mitchell coaching them, who I mean was just atrocious, and so it kind of they had nothing to really fall back on in terms of coaching. So I think that now that
That's
they'll
true.
have a good coach who can give them just some solid feedback, and they also Wiggins, I don't believe he is a number one player. I believe he's a
I think he's a
one
two,
B type player.
honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and with Cat being there, he is already the alpha male and the big dog there. So
Right.
so I see that maybe playing into their advantage because we forget that these guys are. I mean, Cat's our age. I think he's a year
Yeah,
younger
it's wild.
actually, and
Yeah, I think he's a year younger.
Wiggins is our age. So these guys, I mean, they're only 2 years removed from being in high school, being in college, being the top guys on their team. So once they get just to playing together and they get that chemistry, just those three guys, and then Rubio who can dish with the best of them. I mean,
Right.
I think that team you give them a couple more years, and I think they're going to be right on up there with the top teams in the league.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's a great point. That with rookies defensively, it really is about coaching and sort of helping them figure out what
Yep.
they need to do defensively in this league. And Wiggins and Levine, frankly, did not have that in Sam Mitchell or rest in peace, but Flip Saunders didn't seem to really get through
Yep.
to Wiggins last year either. So I think you're right. You're absolutely right. I think Tibbs will be able to point them in the right direction. And you know what's wild is that the Timberwolves could possibly have. I don't know who they're going to get in the draft. Where are they exactly? Are they fourth or
I
fifth
think, well, I mean,
or
the lottery
sixth?
still hasn't happened, but I think they're
Okay,
fourth or fifth, I think is what they're at.
right. They're up. Yeah. So it's funny that they could possibly have three Rookie of the Years in a row in Wiggins, Cat, and whoever whoever they have next year. Who knows?
Yeah, and I mean, it's absolutely insane, and I guess it kind of segues into our next topic, but it's just insane that we're now seeing, especially in basketball, and I think that the NFL is kind of coming around to it, but this is an NFL podcast, so we won't talk about it. But people are starting to just build through the draft, which is what you got to do. And we were talking about this last night, actually, that the
Right.
Mavericks, the team that has always built through free agency, they had a decent
Yeah.
draft last year, and so teams are finally starting to embrace the fact that things need to be done through the draft. And you look at the Warriors. I mean, that's the next topic. And you look at them, that is a team that has been built from the draft, by
Yeah.
the draft, and they are just dominant. I mean, I can't think of a player in their starting five minus Bogut who wasn't drafted by them, all within the past
Nope.
4, 5,
Yep.
6 years. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that team? I don't know we aren't the first people to talk about them, and we ain't gonna be the last. But I mean, do they have we're not even going to talk about the Thunder. The Thunder, no. We know our thoughts on Russell Westbrook. We know our thoughts on them. And even if we love them, I mean, I think the Warriors are just in a league of their own. But
They are.
you look at them going up against the Cavs. Do you see that going 7 games? You see the Warriors killing them. What do you see?
Uh, man, it's tough because I feel like like the Eastern Conference isn't a good witness test for how the Cavs are actually going to fare against the Warriors. Like I think they kind of fooled us by just demolishing the Pistons and the Hawks in those first couple series. And I do think that they're going to handle the Raptors with ease as well. But like those teams are just not even anywhere close to the Warriors. So I my gut is that it goes 6 again, and warp that Golden State takes it in 6. But I wouldn't be surprised if it went 5. Frankly, I don't know, man. The Warriors are just they're just so tough, and they present so many matchup problems with what for the Cavs. So I don't know, but do you want to briefly discuss that Eastern Conference Final series between Toronto and Brooklyn?
Yeah, let's keep it brief and let's just say the Cavs are going to just destroy them. Next
Yeah,
topic,
it'll be brief,
but,
just like the series will be.
but I mean, it's there's really, I mean, there's in the East, the Cavs they didn't struggle with the Pistons, but they didn't kill them like everybody thought they would.
That's true.
The Pistons played them really well, but that's just simply because of Stan Van Gundy. And then
Right.
they destroyed the Hawks because the Hawks are such a I don't want to say it's such a slow paced team, but they're a slower paced team. And then you have the Cavs who just want to run and gun, run and gun, run and gun. So
And they shot him out of the building.
exactly. And now that I mean the big three in Cleveland is starting to play like a bunch of champs right there. I mean Kevin Love's finally playing like Kevin Love, and I know he's that X factor. If he can play like he's played, I think they can give Golden State a run for their money because you look up and I mean Draymond Green. As much as I love LeBron, I think he's going to kind of negate LeBron. And LeBron he'll get his points on him because he's LeBron, but I mean the Cavs won't have any problem running through the Raptors. They just won't. The Raptors were just taken to 7 by the Heat, who were, I mean, on about 2 toes. Forget one leg. They were on about 2 toes. I mean, there was nothing there. So it's just like everybody predicted at the beginning of the year. It's going to be the Cavs and the Warriors, and it's honestly. As much as a LeBron fan as I am, and y'all listeners will learn that very quickly.
Much to my dismay.
It's just something that I just don't see. I don't see them challenging the Warriors. They're just getting. I think any other year they challenge them, but the Warriors are just too dang hot right now, and they have been all year, and I just don't see it stopping.
I think you hit an important point, which is that Love is going to be an X factor. If they can run their version of that death lineup, that small ball lineup with Love at the 5, like Golden State does with Draymond, I think they got a shot because otherwise, because look, Golden State they haven't been using that death lineup a lot, but when they do, it's brutal. There's reasons called the death lineup. No one can guard it. They're going to get buckets all around, and they're going to defend well. And I like Thompson as a player. I think he's productive, but they'll murder him with that lineup if he's at the 5, and obviously with Mozgov as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Mozgov doesn't get a minute the entire series.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I think if Cleveland runs that small ball lineup with Love at the 5, and if they can do it effectively, meaning that Love focuses in and actually plays defense, which is a big if, but if they can do that, then I think they got a shot. I do. They'll need to take a couple at Oracle, or at least one at Oracle, which is going to be with Jam sure ain't going to be easy, but we'll see, man. They got a shot. I also think that the other X factor in that series is Golden State's health, and specifically Steph.
Yep.
Because I don't know, man. It just seems like that guy is moments away from injury every time. Like, to me, it seems that way. And I like Steph a lot. I certainly don't want him to get hurt, but he just seems fragile, man. And I know people say that all the time, and it's kind of a played out viewpoint, but really the guy's just injury prone. And if he does get hurt and they're not at full strength, Golden State's in trouble. Because I do think if Steph isn't at 100%, the Cavs just go way up.
Oh yeah, and I'm looking right now at and I have been. I was trying to find the Cavs death lineup, but I don't think they played enough minutes with each other. But I'm looking
Yeah,
at that lineup of Barnes, Curry, Green, Iguodala, Thompson,
yeah, it's unbelievable.
and
It's unbelievable.
their net rating, they are beating teams by 47 points when they play
Jeez.
together. 142 is their offensive rating, and their defensive rating is 95, which is just dominating. And they're assisting
Yeah,
on,
it's unbelievable.
I mean, they're assisting on 66% of their shots. So I think, and nobody's really talking about this, but I really think that this series is going to come down to, it's going to come down to defense. Is
Yeah, it is. It
who
absolutely
can,
is.
and you look at the Cavs. I mean, just like you mentioned this, Kevin Love. I mean, the dude's never played defense in his life, and I mean he can rebound. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I mean he's just he's a liability on the defensive side of the ball. J.R. Smith, he just shoots the ball. Kyrie's awful. I mean, you look at that Cleveland lineup and all they've got, and even then he's been a few steps off this year. Has been LeBron, and I think when push comes to shove, I mean, defense wins championships. I don't care what sport it is, and I just think that the Warriors, though their offense is great, yeah, a great offense wins a lot of games, but
Yeah.
that defense that they've got is just dominating. I mean, because just like I said, that net rating for defense or the defensive rating is 95. They're giving up 90.
Yeah.
That is so few. And I mean, you look and when it's Andrew Bogut, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Iguodala, and Thompson, they're giving up 92 a game.
It's wild.
I mean, so I just, man, it's hard for me to say, but I just don't, I just don't see it happening. I
Right.
really don't.
No, I agree. And it sounds so simplistic that we're saying, oh, it's all contingent on defense, like obviously, but it really is because, like you said, the sort of the mainstream media, they've just been talking about all the threes that the Cavs have been hitting in the
Hmm.
playoffs, and they're always talking about the range of the Warriors. But when it comes down to it, it's about who can hone in and really play some lockdown D in crunch time. And like you just named it, the Cavs don't have the defensive personnel to do
Nope.
that, and their good defenders have no offensive firepower in guys like Dellavedova and Thompson. So
Yep. And
they don't
it's
really have many options. Like the Warriors have it both ways. They have in that lineup, they have all of those guys are threats offensively, and all of them are at the very least solid, and some of them are incredible defensively. So the Cavs just they don't have the strength on both ends of the floor to keep up with that lineup. They really don't.
I mean, you spoke on the Dellavedova Thompson thing. I'm looking the Delly, LeBron, Kevin Love, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson lineup. Their defensive rating is great at 96, and then their offensive rating is 120. So
Mm.
if they were to put that up there, yeah, but you still put them up against that Golden State, and
Oh yeah, no,
I
I,
mean,
I, I can't see that. Like the numbers seem great, but I don't see that lineup contending with Golden State's death
not
lineup.
at all,
Certainly not over a 7-game series. Absolutely
man. And I guess it, we were going to talk about this a little bit later, but I guess it brings it up. Who I know, I can't remember. Not he will, even if he hasn't. Steve Kerr, I think he won the Coach of the Year already.
he did. Yeah, yeah, he won it
Okay.
this year.
Um, man, we were talking about. I know we were going to talk about award picks, but
Mm.
did he deserve that Coach of the Year award?
That's such a tough question, and I mean I lean towards yes because here's the thing. Obviously, we all know about all the talent that roster has, and we know that Walton excelled when he was coaching the team at the beginning of the year. But I think it comes down to the system that Kerr sort of put in place once he got there, and just that the culture that it's so played out. Everyone's always talking about culture with the Spurs and Warriors and teams like that. But it really is it because they other than Livingston they essentially had the exact same roster when Mark Jackson was coaching the
Yep.
team, and they weren't nearly as good. Now Jackson and Kerr's given credit to him for this, but Jackson um, instilled a defensive mindset in that team that has
Yep.
really served them well. But
And
he's a
Curry also
brutal
wasn't
offensive
healthy those
coach.
years.
Right? Yeah, he's a he's a bad offensive coach. He just is, and they were not able to achieve their full potential offensively when he was there. Like it was a bunch of Steph and Clay ISOs. It was just bad offensive basketball. So Kerr was able to really bring out what how good that team could be offensively, and it's led to the most historic season of all time, and it led to a championship last year. So I do think he deserves coach of the year. That's just my opinion.
I'm I'm gonna try not to let my homerism get in the way. I really am. Um, I'm trying to find the.
Who are you going to go with, Stevens?
Stevens is. I mean, he's gotta be up there. He just has to be.
Oh, he definitely is.
He has to be, and that's what I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find uh, the what's the word that I'm looking for? The rankings, for lack of a better term, or the voting. How that played out.
I don't think he was up there. If I remember correctly, I think it was Stotts and Casey were up there.
Hey, speaking of Stotts, he I was reading yesterday, and I don't know how this was going to happen. I can't find it, but they were talking about not even re-signing him and letting him go. And then, of course, today
they were doing that with Casey as well, but Casey's a whole different story.
Yeah, but they just signed Stotts to a long-term contract through, I think, a 2020. But Kerr, I'm not. I don't have a problem with him winning. I really don't.
Yeah.
But one, he didn't even coach more than 50% of the games for the team. I mean, yeah, with playoffs he has. But
no, he did. I think Walton was like 24-8. So Kerr ended up doing like.
Is that what it was?
So I think he was around a little over 50%. I could be wrong.
I'm looking. Luke Walton served as interim head coach for the other 43 games for the Warriors. So
wow. Okay, so he made just under 50%.
So
okay.
I mean, I don't disagree, but had you been able to say Stotts, had you said Stevens,
well, Stotts finished second. Popovich finished third. Pop is always going to get in there.
He's always up there.
Yeah. But here's the thing I think that's important. These awards aren't necessarily indicative of the best coaches. And although I will still contend that Kerr is up there with top 5 best coaches in the league.
Yep.
But like, so some of these awards, like Six Man, let's get into it. They're so like it's unbelievable that Jamal Crawford won Six Man.
Or most improved.
Most improved as well. Like it's just like most improved is a matter of they're always going to give it to a second or third year guy who just got more minutes. I bet you if you take a look at McCollum's numbers from last year to this year, he certainly improved, but his dramatic uptake can be mostly contributed to his dramatic uptake in minutes because he just wasn't playing last year and he was also hurt. And with Six Man, they give it to the dude that gets buckets off the bench. And the thing is, Crawford, that good stretch they had at the end of the year was when he was starting. He wasn't even coming off the bench. So it's just nuts that, and I'm a little salty because I'm a Jazz fan, and he essentially knocked us out of the playoffs with that buzzer beater. But still, man, like some of these awards are just kind of name based, and I think when it comes down to it, and I don't want to talk too much more about Coach of the Year, but when it comes down to it, his team broke the record for wins. They won the championship last year with an incredible year. I think you kind of got to give it to the guy, honestly. But like I said, these awards are just gonna kind of be determined like that, and they're not necessarily indicative of the actual best coaches, best Six Man, most improved players, etc.
And that's absolutely true. I totally agree. I mean, to come back to you about C.J. McCollum, I'm looking at his stats right now. His effective field goal percentage went up 0.06 of a point. His minutes tripled. His real field goal percentage shot up 0.08 of a point. I mean, he really. I mean, did he improve? Yes, but it was just a matter of he just played more. That's just how it is.
Absolutely, that's how it always is. Well, here's an interesting thought. I've heard a couple different NBA guys talk about this. Do you think Steph or Kawhi should have won it? Because I kind of think that one should have.
I remember them saying that early on in the year when Steph was just destroying everybody. Right. I mean, not that he's not now, but just when he was killing everybody. And I would rather superstar who became just otherworldly win the most improved, as opposed to somebody who just got more minutes. I'm not saying CJ McCollum didn't
No, I
improve,
agree.
yes, but
Yeah.
when push comes to shove, I mean, I think Steph's improvement is the reason that we're saying, you know what, they're going to beat the Cavs in 6. I think that
Yeah.
Kawhi's improvement is the reason that literally a week and a half ago we said, wow, they're going to destroy the Thunder because they just beat them by 32 in Game 1.
Right.
So I don't have a problem with if they were to do that. I mean, I honestly do not ever see that happening because
No, I agree. Yeah, it's just not in the spirit of the award.
exactly, and if that was the case and you had that thought process behind everything, there'd only be 4 or 5 winners every generation because those guys would just constantly be improving. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean, it's
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that people put too much value into some of these awards. Like, I don't think that they really mean as much as we give them credit for. Because there seems to be this kind of old guard with the voters that they just always give it to these guys that fit this exact model of the award. Like with Crawford and McCollum both. And my dad went to Lehigh. I love CJ McCollum, but really it is a result of his increased minutes. And Crawford winning the sixth man is just it's ridiculous. I want to move on because it's making me bad.
well, I mean, so I mean, I don't really care about any other awards, and I'm not just going to grasp at awards to grasp at awards, but I guess I mean, we've already talked about the playoffs, not that there's really anything to talk about. I mean, it's ending with the Cavs and the Warriors. That's just what it is. Well, I guess we could talk.
We can move on to team intensive stuff if you want to.
Real quick. Let me say this. What?
Yeah.
Man, and I think that when this podcast reaches the air, I'm just gonna call it. It's gonna reach some people, and I don't know how, but it's gonna reach some people, and I think this is gonna be a little bit. This is gonna be a hot roundtable discussion. What are your thoughts on the Spurs? What are they going to do? Is Duncan going to retire? Is Ginobili going to retire?
Interesting.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we talked a little bit about this last night in concern to Timmy D. I think, gun to my head, I say Duncan returns for another year and gives it a go. But I mean, the guy, he finally looked like he was 40 years old. And finally, watching that series, he just looked slow. He looked bad. He looked like age finally caught up to him. But I think that he comes back another year. But like I said, I would not be surprised if he didn't. Ginobili, kind of the same thing. I would probably lean more to saying Ginobili retires, more so than Duncan. Like the dude, what was his exact injury again? But it was something in the groin.
He took a knee to the groin and he had surgery. I was going to mention that, so he didn't have as much wear on his tires this year.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is if I'm them and I'm not, this isn't what they're thinking because they're competitors and I mean they're males, so they're automatically competitors, and they're top athletes, so they're even more of a competitor.
Absolutely.
But there has to be a time when somebody just sits down with Tim, somebody sits down with Manu, somebody sits down with these old guys that are just hanging around off name value alone because they're finally starting to just fall off a cliff, and they said, you know what, Tim, I don't care what happens, y'all aren't beating the Warriors, you just aren't. And I mean, maybe if Durant went there, but that's a whole different story.
Let's not get into that.
I don't. I just. Do I think he'll return, or do I think that they will both return? Yes, because Popovich is still there. But should they return? Probably not.
That's a whole other question, right? Yeah.
And I just don't think they will. But with all that being said, what's the outlook for the Jazz looking like this offseason?
Oh man, I mean, I'm super excited about the Jazz. As you know, last year was my first year that I was kind of full fledged Jazz fanatic. I was able to get not even league pass, but team pass just for the Jazz. So I watched almost every game. I followed them extensively, and a lot of Jazz fans are kind of, or not kind of, really upset about how the season ended with us missing the playoffs and whatnot, and are kind of pessimistic, to be honest with you. But I'm in the minority that's extremely optimistic and happy about how the season went. And I think that if Exum can return and be the player that the Jazz think he can be.
Forgot about him.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people have. He missed the whole year with the ACL tear. But if he can return and he has Sheldon Mack there to sort of back him up and kind of give him a soft landing. I think they're going. First of all, they're going to be amazing defensively. They're already great defensively this year. And throw in Exum, who's a big, long guy, and he was a great defender in his rookie year. They're going to be something else defensively. I think they need a talent upgrade to improve offensively. I think it starts on the wing. Just to take a bit of the load off of Hayward and Hood, because they ask a lot of them on offense, especially Hayward. Mm-hmm. Hayward has to guard the best wing player, meaning he has to guard the likes of LeBron, Kawhi, Durant, and then has to carry the load offensively and even run point forward at times. So it's tough and it's a lot. So I think they need maybe add a guy I don't think Batum's coming. I think he wants to stay in Charlotte, but if we could get Batum, that'd be great. I've heard David Locke, the NBA insider for the Jazz, talking about Rudy Gay as a possible option.
Really?
Yeah, I know you don't like Rudy Gay, and I honestly don't like that pick either. But we can go into it later. But you raised some good points. But who else? I mean, there's some guys out there. I personally, Mike Conley's one of my favorite players, and I would love it if Conley signed with Utah. I mean, I would give my left arm to see Conley sign with Utah, but I don't know, man. We'll see. I think our future is bright. I think that us, along with the Wolves, are going to be up near the top of the Western Conference for a while. As long as we can add a couple more pieces to bolster our offense, I think we're gonna be good. What about your Celtics, man? What are you thinking? What are your thoughts about them right now?
I'm gonna say a couple things real quick. I know we're getting kind of close on time, but I'm gonna mention the Jazz. I think what they are, they need that wing help, and I'm looking right now at some free agents. You've got Harrison Barnes, who's restricted, but I know that I've heard, and I don't think he deserves it, but I've heard he's going to command max money. I don't agree with that, but we all know that, and the salary cap in the NBA and how just jacked up it is.
The cap going up so much. There's going to be so many guys getting maxed out.
Exactly. So I mean, there are some guys out there that they can get that could take a leap on a guy like Jeff Green and possibly hope that he comes back to what he was in Boston. It's weird that he's only ever been good in Boston.
It's absolutely weird. No, I agree.
It's so weird. But the Jazz, they have a lot of nice pieces, but I think they're in the same boat as the Spurs in the sense of unless they just become great, I don't see them challenging the Warriors. I just don't.
Well, yeah. I mean that.
And it's kind of sad for them, and it's not. I mean, it's not cool because they're a good team, and you put them in the Eastern Conference, and they give the Cavs a lot of fits. But I just don't.
Here's my question about, or my response, and I totally get what you're saying. I mean, the Warriors are, well, like you said before, in a league of their own. But if you think about their roster, they could possibly lose Barnes.
Yep.
Curry's very injury prone, so you never know what could happen to him. God forbid, like I said, I would never wish an injury upon anyone, especially not a guy like Steph. But who knows what could happen with him? Bogut's nearing the end of his rope. Yeah. Livingston's older than you'd think, and he's got some wear and tear on him. Same with Iguodala. I mean, even their super role players like Spates and Barbosa, who knows what's going to happen with them?
Man, I mean, time out real quick. Those guys are in the league. I don't know how those guys are in the league. They have found a niche with that team. But continue.
I know. But well, here actually, it's funny because that kind of you can kind of attribute that to the culture that Kerr installed. Like he kind of like David Locke, who I mentioned earlier, always talks about this, about how that team sort of just took some misfits and found a place for him. Like they made Spates into a semi-productive guy, and they made Barbosa into a semi-productive guy. It's really incredible what that team's been able to do. Even though their owner, what was he he said some super pompous thing, but he is kind of right. Like they really have done a wonderful job. But like I said, it's the NBA. There's not a ton of parity in the NBA, but nonetheless, you never know what's going to happen. And I don't necessarily think the Jazz will knock off the Warriors in the next couple of years, but I'm optimistic, man. I think if we build a solid team, you just gotta kind of hope for something to go your way in the playoffs.
That is all you can do, and that actually
Yep.
is a perfect segue into the Celtics because, man, I love my Celtics. I always have and I always will, but they just got that. Danny Ainge has to figure out what Danny Ainge is doing. I mean, he just does. I mean, it's one day he loves Isaiah Thomas, the next day he loves Jay Crowder, the next day he loves Jonas Jerebko. I mean, there's just a
Yeah,
bunch of things that
yeah.
he just has to figure out what he's going to do. I'm hoping with that draft lottery tomorrow. And
I
this,
forgot it was tomorrow. I'm pumped.
yeah, this is. I'm not going to say this is a terrible draft, but this isn't a draft that if you were to get the number one pick, some guys would trade up for. Um,
Yeah,
but I think if they can go out there and get a Ben Simmons, go get Brandon Ingram, if they can get somebody like that who can just take up space on a roster for cheap, which is good because I was just reading just a second ago, they if when they get their rookie scale or when they get their rookie and he signs his rookie scale contract, they will still have room for two max deals.
wow.
That's if they get rid of Amir Johnson, which I bet Danny Ainge tries to trade him and I think it's Urebko before July 3rd when their contracts become
Right.
guaranteed. Um,
Yeah.
I think that, and maybe this is just me hoping and saying it's thinking, but I think that Danny he has something up his sleeve. He's got to take this just absolute stockpile. We were talking a couple weeks back that he's got like a fifth of the draft picks in this year's draft or something just
Yeah,
crazy
it was
like
absurd. I
that.
think it was the sixth. I
Yeah,
think he had, or he was the fifth, maybe. It
I
was
mean,
absurd. It was
it is.
crazy.
I think he has like 11 picks this year or something.
Yeah, it's wild.
Package those for a guy that wants out of a place,
Right.
and I mean, they just they have really good players that really do that just play together really well. But the thing is you just need, as
You need a
much as it
guy.
pains me
You
to say,
need a
yeah, you
guy.
need a guy.
Absolutely. I
And
mean, look at Atlanta.
exactly, look at them a few years back. They were always winning 60 games, 55, 40, or 48, 52. I
48.
mean, they
Yeah.
were always winning a lot of games, but they just couldn't get it done because they didn't have a guy. Joe Johnson always choked, and they just didn't have a guy. Speaking of Atlanta, I could see them going out and getting Al Horford. Um,
Oh
I think
yeah.
it'd
Well,
be.
I heard that he likes it. I heard he likes Boston as a destination.
I mean, who when you think about it, who doesn't want to go to that? It's an absolute sports town. I mean, the history of the Celtics, I mean, they're run by a great front office. They've got a good team. They've got Crowder. They've got Thomas. They got a good team.
Yeah.
It's just, man, I I'm optimistic for what's going to happen, but I'm also not holding my breath for something gigantic to happen. If that makes any sense.
No, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I mean, we're sort of in the same boat for, sort of different circumstances, but we kind of have the same mindset. And I know we're about to wrap up here, but just really quickly, you can just give a quick answer. Um, what do you think about getting Cousins? Because if I were you, I would
No,
absolutely not want
no,
him. But
I
what do
I
you think?
I can't. A couple years back, I would have said yes, but the
Yeah,
dude has run out. Oh man, I think
is it
four
four now?
coaches. I think it's four.
Jesus.
And I I cannot have him running out Brad Stevens. I can't.
No, no, you
Um,
can't. He's more important. I think Stevens is more important to that team and that organization than Cousins could be.
exactly,
So,
exactly. So from a purely player standpoint, yes. From everything else, no, absolutely not.
right. Yeah, I mean, the guy just he doesn't win, and he's proven to be a locker room cancer. It's as simple as that. But all right. I think that's probably a good spot for us to wrap up. Just really briefly, the name of the podcast is the Cream Team rather than the Dream Team. That's just sort of a play on the fact that we're both white guys, and the Jazz and Celtics are for reasons that you probably know are both known for teams that have a bunch of white guys. You know, they got the white superstars and Stockton, Bird, and Maravich. So that's kind of just wanted to explain the name a little bit. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Hunter, thanks for chatting with me for a little bit. Glad we got to dive into some NBA stuff. I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and we will see you soon.
Adios, guys.
All right, guys. Bye.